Go. Okay, so this session is being recorded now. So let's go back to where we started. We're talking about, can we identify why the market turned here? Correct? What were the signals that the market was going to turn here? And beyond that, what's the confirmation here to get long for at least the move to the VWAP and even beyond? Correct? So as I was saying a moment ago, when I started, I was saying that the market up until that point was riding the 8 EMA downward, right? You see that this is your open somewhere in here, volume starts, and there's a little bit of a peak here above the VWAP. And then once it falls below the VWAP, notice that it never goes back above VWAP, except for this one little shadow. But pretty much it's a short all morning long at all different points, like rally to the VWAP, rally to the 8, stay under the 8, a little bit of a fake out here, but stays under the 8. Right here retraces the up move. That's a short, right? Goes to the 8. So the 3-line method is working very well as it's developing, right? The 3-line method is working perfectly. It's just, using these 3 lines as against them for shorts or riding it lower. And then that brings us to one of the largest bars of the morning, which is this one. And the first thing I want to say is, if you are just looking at candlestick charts, you would not be remiss in saying this is probably going lower. If you were short at the end of that bar when that 5-minute bar closed, you were probably thinking, I'm going to stay short this and we're going to go and see at least 75 or whatever. We're going to move lower, but it did not. And so what were the clues as to why it did not? So the first thing I would say is pop over the profile here. That's your first clue. And as you're moving lower in that time, look at what happened with the excess of the F period and, more importantly, the volume. So this is a clue that nobody is going to see except for people with the profile. Look at this number right here. Not only 22 contracts at the low, but look at the taper. The volume is tapering here, 3 digits, 3 digits here. So pretty much from this point on, it looks like this. It's like a funnel. It's tapering down. That's not a sign it would go lower. When it's going to go lower, it will continue to contribute bigger volume, all in the 4 digits, at all these price levels, meaning it'll come down, hang out, it'll build, come down, it'll build, it'll keep building. But that didn't happen. So this tells you right off the bat that if you're short there and you've got the profile up on a separate screen, which I wish everybody would have, it's not acting right. That's not how it should look. And one of the things that I call out in my room all the time at tops and bottoms is heads up, X number of contracts at the high, X number of contracts at the low. And I only call that out when the number is less than 100. So you see right here, the 22, that's it. So when I was in my room this morning, I was saying heads up, 22 contracts at the low with a taper. That's the key. The low contract number is not always the low. But if the low contract number is paired together with volume tapering, where you can see here that all the way from 83.75 all the way down to the low at 81 here, or 80.75, whatever it is, nobody traded. Nobody traded down there. That's not sustainable. That tells you that nobody's selling. All that is just sellers running out of bullets. Nobody's buying either, mind you. There are no smart people at the very highs or lows, myself included. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's sellers running out of bullets, and the market is still going down and the market is still selling. It's just that less and less people are selling. You're never going to see some super smart money jump in there and put on big size on the low tick of the day. It will never, ever happen. It's just not like that. Unless that's tying in with some very key technical level, and maybe you see that, okay? So this is the first clue right here of that, okay? Now, once we have that clue, we move back to the chart, because now at least we have a framework to work with, and we can say to ourselves, okay, I think there's a chance that this could be the low. So the question is, what is going to confirm to me that it actually is the low? And that's when you go back to the 3-line method. You go back to the 821 and the VWAP. And you're looking at this, and you just say to yourself, okay, so we just turned around. So the first thing that's going to happen if this is a real turnaround is that the 8 has to get taken out. Because I know I've been riding the 8 all morning. So if I know I've got this taper of volume down here and I rally back to the 8, I can do one of two things. I can buy the 8 immediately, thinking that it's going to happen, or I can wait to see a pullback like this and a retest of the 8, and then I can buy the 8, right? Keep it simple. In this case, which is really also a tell, the 5-minute bar did not reject perfectly at the 8. It went above it. And after going above it and coming down a couple ticks, did it retrace back underneath the 8? It did not. So right then and there, you have a buy point, because you know these people are heavily short and they are screwed. They are screwed because they're all short and they don't watch this stuff. The percentage of people probably that has market profile is 0.001 of futures traders, right? And then the percentage of traders out there that are with us in these rooms is also obviously a tiny number compared to the amount of traders. So the majority of people have no clue about this. They're not even thinking about this. But it's starting to develop on the chart itself. Now here's the thing. Let's say you don't buy it at the 8. There's another signal just above it where it's a buy. And that would be very simply this. Because you know that you had one of the largest candles of the morning start here and move down. Well, think about it. Everybody in this candle is short. Everybody. How do we know that it's short? Simple. It took out a prior swing low, and it's also one of the biggest candles of the day, and it closed on the low. So what type of market activity could be happening right here? Only strong selling. That is the only type of market activity that's in there. You know, I always get slightly amused when people are like, well, you don't know that. How do you know they're all selling? No, you do know that. Because imbalance of sellers to buyers causes prices to go lower, and heavy imbalances of sellers to buyers cause big body candles to the downside that close on the lows. So you 100% know that. You 100% know that everybody in that bar is a seller. So if the bar gets retraced 100%, well, that's a buy stop right there. That's it. And then you have a little target to the 21, and then it blows right through the 21, and it goes to the VWAP. And look what happens when it goes to the VWAP. Like literally, you could chop this up into 5 different entries. If you didn't get this long at the lows, who cares? Because this thing just keeps setting up like a gift that keeps on giving, and it just keeps setting up and giving you more and more clues that it's going higher. Because, for instance, when it comes to here where this arrow is, right here, right? When it comes right here to where this, right here into this bar in the middle, what happens on the VWAP? If it was weaker, don't you think that coming to VWAP would have caused this? I think so. I think it would have hit this and come back down to at least here. It does nothing. It literally comes in like what? 2 ticks and goes right back to the VWAP. So guess what? You have another buy again with a tight stop right under here. And then for this one, I don't know what your target would be. You just monitor for continuation. Why did it stop here? I have no idea. I honestly don't know. It doesn't even look like that much of a reference to me, right? I mean, the high is here. But who cares? You see? So I hope this makes sense. Like how if you start with the 3-line method, which Scott detailed for you in the files section, right? If you just have the discipline to stick to this as your framework, then you have incredible advantage, and you have market generated information left and right that is telling you this is long, this is short. If it goes to here, I do this. If none of this happens, I do nothing, right? If it keeps going in this direction and you're just riding the 8, okay, the bias is still down. I stick with this or whatever, you know. But this is basically it. That's basically it. And this is the MO if you're trading futures. To me, it's these things play out over and over every single day, or every day. You know, it's just the same stuff over and over, that there's no possible way in the futures market, unless you had like a, I don't know, 100-point gap up, you know, limit up or whatever, that you're not going to interact with these three lines. Like if anything, you know that on a trending day, you can get well away from the VWAP, you can get well away from the 8 and 21. But the 8, of course, is always going to catch up. You're never going to not have an interaction with the 8. Maybe you have one day in a blue moon where you don't have an interaction with the 21 because the gap up and the ensuing rally or sell-off is so strong that you never touch the 21. Maybe. And in those cases, maybe, you know, because the VWAP is from midnight and the VWAP was on the overnight activity as well, maybe you never interact with the VWAP. But 99.9% of days will interact with all three. And then what you're doing is you're simply looking for clues from the profile, from market internals, from price action of, am I going to the 8, reject, through the 8, buy, through the 8 to the downside, sell, right? If I'm through the 8, am I going to 21? Yes. Okay, where's VWAP? Is that, or maybe VWAP's lower than 21? It can set up in different ways. Signposts, right? I've reached point A. Overwhelmingly, the market is telling me that A is not going to resist. A should have resisted, but is not resisting. So I'm going to buy A and go to B. Okay. Sequence number 2, A to B. Okay, now what's going to happen? Should reject at B. Limit order sell just under B, right? Then reassess the situation. Or maybe leave a couple contracts on because who knows? What if it drives straight through B, right? Like in this particular example, the 21 in this particular 5-minute bar offered absolutely no resistance. So the MO would have been to have, you know, some contracts to sell there and see what it can do. See if it goes to VWAP. And lo and behold, it drills its way back to VWAP, right? So anyway, I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to point that out specifically for this morning because this morning had, you know, this big reversal on it. And when I see these big body candles like this that close at the low, and then I see a reversal happen off of it, my immediate thought is, and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm just thinking of all the traders around the world. My immediate thought is, oh yes, people got seriously hurt. You know they got seriously hurt. They definitely got seriously hurt. You know, especially if they had poor location, especially if they thought that the low of this bar was a short because it would go lower. Or this is a very common thing that happens often is look at this short here. That's a double bottom, right? Is it not? That right there is a double bottom. So there's definitely new shorts initiating right there. And they made what? They made a couple points. They went from here, from 88 to 80. Good. So that's a good move. So they made 88 to 80. But if they didn't get out, well, then boom. You know, if they played the hope card and they thought, okay, well, the move will actually still be lower. I just have to let it go. And then it doesn't. You know, again, you have a lot of market generated information here. Hey, this is Peter from Weekly Options Advisory. I want to thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you'd like to trade live with me every day in real time, then check out the links in the description below. I wish you good trading, and I'll see you in the room.